on the left column in the bottom. So we had heard something really Peladic about this, that he said that I think that he was saying, I'm trying to understand, that you're in the same kind of situation on Pesach that you're in as we call it the parts of, I get them mixed up, the parts of a Zamanim and parts of a Yomim. And the parts of the Zamanim, you're actually making a tikkun in 3 years when you come to the Pesach Seder. That the first year is for the first year, where you're at right at the moment of the Seder. You're bringing in Mochin the Acharayim. And then at the same time, it has the effect from the previous years of being in the Mochin of the Panim. And in the third year, going backwards it's making a tikkun in the 2 years before that, in order to be able to make a yichud in that partzav. So that was like the Inyan the Kad shows. So now he goes and he says like this. He says, Nimsa Mavur B'ad Kan, Shaladas of RASHASH, that according to the think of the RASHASH, Kol KAVANOT of PESACH Heim Penimiut. I said that before, the Kaves all dealing with Penimiut. Shuchul B'tikun Chet out of a Rishon B'neshamos. So Neshamos goes along with Penimiut. And so the tikkun is to get to the real inside of what went wrong with Adam Rishon. So he says, Rishon b'neshama d'zun the klavos Hashanah, which goes along with the neshamas of Zun of the whole year. The yamim, so he said the yamim v'dizmanim the shita achas. So we say, I'm a little confused about which one is which or how you define them, but according to the Torah's Chacham, it's yamim and zmanim, and according to the Shem and Sason, he had said previously, it's only dealing with the zmanim. But parts of a zmanim, the shita sacheros, that's that. So that's what you're dealing with here, is you're really trying to get to the year before's tikkun, because you're actually, it's a really hard idea to try to really swallow how we're doing that, but he says when you sit down at the table, the Seder, you're actually making a tikkun in 3 different years. That's what it seems to me. So now we go to another section. So he said, tikkun mitzvahs of brachos, Penimiut Chitzonius. Now I haven't read the whole thing, and we're not going to get all to this, but why he got to this, I'm not sure. Well, let's see what he says. Over in the corner it says, Kosev Rav Zech Be'etz Chaim. So we're concerned about a tikkun in the Penimiut. That's what we want to do. So Dibur has a lot to do with it. This is a quote, I guess, for the Eitz Chaim. All of those mitzvahs and the brachos. Where am I here? Come on, let's say, for example, tzitzis and tefillin and v'chidas matzah, which is part of the pesuk of the Lud of the Yozebam. Kulam heim b'chitzonis alamos. They're all dealing with the chitzonis of the lamos. Now here we're not talking about where I said before. We're talking about Penimiut and chitzonia. Penimiut and let me see what else he's talking about. Let me go on. I've just not remembering well what's going on. Kulam b'chitzonis alamos. They're all dealing with the chitzonis alamos. So over here we're talking about chitzonis and Penimiut. That's what I was trying to say. Over there they're talking about acharayim and panim. So they kind of go together. Those two same ideas, different words. And even though they're aspect of mochin, you bring it in mochin. But the mochin, the aspect of the mochin themselves are the chitzoni aspect of the mochin. We call mitzvah shehi b'dibors, and that's the way it goes when you're doing the action, like drinking a cup of wine. So, for example, we call mitzvah b'dibor levad. So, but something that really depends only on speaking, which would be what? Kamot tefillah, like we said when we pray, a kol hu b'penimius. That's all dealing with penimius. Can be called arba lomos abiyah, because in all of the lomos, which represented by abiyah, V'chein b'kol chamisha partzufisha b'kol olam ba'arbaasa, so every parts of all of the four of them, yesh b'kol echad b'chem chitzonius penimius, each one of them has a chitzonius and a penimius. V'kol ha'maisechu b'birchosecho, so all actions, all of the blessings that go with the actions, are kol hu b'chitzonius. Now he also mentioned the blessings that go with them. Kamosh Losh Seudas, the Shabbos, for example, the Chidas Matzah, the Pesach, the Kiddush, the Heinrich, the Birchas HaKiddush, that is the Bracha of the Kiddush. So he says Shabbos, Shabbos, Sha'al Chayayin, Tzitzis, it's Tefillin, the Sukkah, the Lulav, Achein Kol Davar HaTalui B'Peh, the Vado, so everything that has to do only with speaking. Kagon HaTafida Ve'esa Katara, that, for example. Called Toloi Penimius. This is all talking about Penimius ad Khan. So let's read a little bit more. We have a little bit more time. So he says, V'al pi hamavur b'nar shalom. According to Nar Shalom, then he says like this: Nimsa shagama mitzvos maisius shal yadan nisaka b'chinas kitzonius. That through them we're actually making a tikkun in the kitzonius. As almost alolem ain't about b'chinas kitzonius mamish. It's not really mamish kitzonius. What does it mean? El kitzonius the penimius. So there we have another concept. It's the outside part of the inside part. Kibepratus ak vabia, which means all of Atzilus and everything that came before it. Shu penimius hakolel sheyesh chitzonius of penimius, which is the concept of penimius. When you go back like that, you're talking about whatever came first. This is the concept of penimius. But in the penimius itself, he says there is a chitzonius aspect to it and a penimius aspect to it. So therefore, when you're doing the mitzvahs and you're also doing their brachos, nisach and chitzonius, the penimius, what you're doing there. Now let me read again. He says, when you do the mitzvah, and you have brachos with it too, but he says you're working on the chitzonius of the penimius. There you're making actually a penimius itself, shalomos. He says, when you make brachos nehenim, you're actually making a tikkun in the chitzonius, a yoser chitzon, the most outside part, shalomos. Which is really ak and the bria de bria, a malvish ba'orach, and in the same sense, if you looked at it, I think he means an ovi, but you looked at the orach part of the ovi, it's exactly the same as the ak of the bria de tzilos. It covers it over. Now I'm not sure I really understood all of that. We'll pick it up again, Mitzvah Shem, next year. Kol Tov.